I am your host, founder and CEO of Appelman Properties. Today, we're joined with Zach Happenstall. Zach is the CEO and co-founder of Rise 48 Equity and Rise 48 Communities. Zach oversees $1.99 billion of real estate multifamily portfolio in Phoenix and Dallas. Zach's managing acquisitions, capital, and strategic partnerships. Zach, we're excited to have you on the show today. If you could let everyone know a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, thanks so much, Josh. Really appreciate you guys having us on. Looking forward to bringing some value. And so yeah, I mean, I was, born and raised here in Phoenix. Just kind of grew up in like a lower middle class family. No real estate experience or background or rich uncle or anything like that. And was taught to go to school, get good grades, get a degree, get a good job. And so that's what I tried to do. I had a journalism degree. Realized I didn't want to be in journalism. Went into healthcare marketing. Was making good money at a young age, making six figures, and then just got really burnt out and was really trying to find, some type of vehicle to, generate passive income or just something that I could scale. And so January 2018, I resigned, sold the equity I had in the company I was working for and lived off of savings for over a year to figure out how to get into multifamily. And, long story short, Josh, it was 14 months after I quit the job. We finally closed our first deal. It was a 36 unit, $3.5 million deal. And, I put all the money I had into that thing, bootstrapped it to try to get it closed. And then from there, we started to syndicate deals, raise money, from passive investors and have been able to scale. And so since then we've acquired, 44 different assets, over 1.7 billion of real estate. We started a property management company, construction management company. So we've got a little over 230 plus full-time W-2 employees right now. And we're just exclusively focused on value add multifamily in Phoenix and Dallas. And so those are the two markets that we're focused on. We just kind of rinse and repeat the same business plan over and over, trying to buy 100 plus unit deals, workforce housing, go renovate interiors, exteriors, increase the rents, and then always a 5-year investment. So that's kind of a little quick summary on, kind of how we got to where we are now.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And I think that's going to resonate with a lot of listeners because you started out with literally zero units, zero real estate experience. You got your first deal, bootstrapped it, and then you figured out the systems and made sure that it worked. And then essentially you created a system around what you learned, and you scaled massively and quickly.
Yeah.
And scaling is all about people because people are the pillars of the company. So if you could tell us a little bit more about how you scaled, how you found those relationships to bring on this company you helped you officially started and co-founded.
Yeah, great question, Josh. So, I mean, we really didn't make any money the first 3 years, to give you an idea. Like I was just piling up debt trying to run this business. And so like 2018, 2019, 2020 really didn't make any money. And I actually had to go back to work after 18 months of starting this. I went back into hospice. I was president and co-owner of a hospice organization during the day, running the real estate business at night. That gave me good experience to how to quickly scale a company. It was in a different industry, but we had about 50 employees when I started. We scaled it to 110 employees, sold it to a hedge fund in like 18 months. So that gave me experience on how to, recruit, interview, hire, manage, delegate, build out departments, things like that. And so, really around end of 2020, things started to come together where we had closed a handful of deals. So we were establishing relationships with the brokers. So they knew that we were credible. They started bringing us off-market deals. Okay. We also started selling our first deals and showing that we could execute a plan and perform and going full cycle. And every time we sell a deal, we get flooded with investor referrals, who investors who are in that deal who are happy refer their colleagues, friends, and family. So you're growing your investor base, you're sourcing better deals. We started to charge acquisition fees upon new deals that we were buying, which is very industry standard. We didn't do it for the first 4 deals. So we were trying to prove our track record. So by doing that, we were generating revenue. And all the profits that we made, Josh, from selling deals and generating revenue from acquisition fees, we started to reinvest in the company to build infrastructure. Because we realized we wanted to build, an actual quote unquote business, with employees, with departments, and not just be using third parties and buying these deals and be transactional. So second half of 2020, we converted to an S Corp. The 3 of us, my 2 partners and I, we all started taking salaries. So I quit my job the second time, beginning of 2021. We started in March of 21. We started hiring employees. We got an office space, and there's a lot of power to having like a brick and mortar office. Everybody has to show up to every day, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, right? Like right now, we now own this office building I'm in, and all of our employees have to come every day. We don't have remote employees. So you're either in the office or you're at the properties, because we have property management staff as well. And so that really helped us when you're all in the same place, focused, disciplined. And so around that time, we started gaining a lot of traction in those different areas I was talking to you about. And so in 2021, we were able to really scale. We were sourcing deals off market. We had equity demand. We had infrastructure we were developing to be able to operate these properties and build out different departments like transactions, construction management, asset management, build an accounting team, investor relations, start hiring marketing staff. Because initially, the three of us, my partners, Bikram, Robert, and myself, we were doing every little minutia detail you can imagine of the business, which was good because we learned every little detail and every nook and cranny of every department. So when we started hiring people, we were able to train them, and we were able to identify what type of people do we want, right? And then we realized we need to be competitive, and so we started to provide very competitive compensation and benefits packages. So we cover 100% of every employee's medical, dental, vision, 50% of all their dependents. We have a 401k program. We match 3% of all their contributions. So that allowed us to be an attractive workplace and really get the best talent, in the industry. We started the property management company shortly after that, which gave us a lot of control and autonomy. Started buying our materials directly wholesale to control our infrastructure there and control our supply chain. So, everything we've been doing is we're trying to reinvest to create infrastructure, strengthen operations. And I think one thing that's kind of been unique about our strategy initially, Josh, is that, we bought a lot of deals, but we focused solely on Phoenix initially. I think a lot of groups will try to go to different markets right out of the gates, and it's easy to get your energy and your focus spread thin. We bought our first 40 deals in Phoenix. Okay. So we could get to any, we had 6,000 plus units. We get to any of them within 30, 40 minutes of each other. That gives you concentration scale where you're just rinse and repeating. We're buying the same type of assets, the same exact business plan, the same people executing them over and over. And it allows you to gain a lot of efficiencies. And we did that. We made sure we had all of our systems and processes built out before we expanded to Dallas at the end of 2022. So that kind of gives you some insight into how we kind of built it out so far.
Yeah, no, Zach, that's huge. It resonates with me as well. So we're vertically integrated as well, just not nearly the size, but having the control and the flexibility and the sense of urgency to go get things done when you have property management and construction and the acquisitions all under one roof, and being in an office, having the energy of your employees around you, you can pick up a lot just by walking by and eavesdropping on a conversation. You might be able to get ahead of something that you wouldn't have known about before. So totally agree with everything you said. It's and that you being vertically integrated, you're controlling the procurement of the labor, of the materials, keeping your cost where it needs to be. Plus, you're controlling the expenses on a much more refined detail. You're able to just eradicate expenses where other management might have just paid to make the issue go away versus taking care of the issue. So that's incredible. And having it sounds like you three are absolute powerhouses for partnerships, because organizations are pillars. If you have the right people in an organization, you could rapidly expand and grow. Tell us so somebody listening in right now, they're wanting to get into multifamily. They hear the benefits, they're still not sure. What are some passive investing benefits to getting into real estate that you've seen?
Yeah, great question. So, I was fortunate to be able to just quit my job, live off of savings. I didn't have a family, at that point, where I know a lot of people, they've got a family and they have kids they need to support, and you can't just quit your job and go active. And so passive can be beneficial for you because you really don't have any time commitment whatsoever. And you're probably already investing in the stock market, which is passive for you. But I think some of the benefits of this is that when you're investing in hard assets, we're a lot more insulated towards, the news cycle, for example. If a CEO sends a tweet, it could tank your stock. But with these real estate deals, that's not the case. They are sensitive to interest rate fluctuations. So you want to make sure you're investing with an operator, who's mitigating against interest rate risk. But you've got the passive income, like we do monthly distributions, for example. So you're getting a direct deposit hit your account first week of each month. You're growing the money. in a hard asset. Over time, real estate, really always appreciates and has historically outperformed the stock market. You're getting tax benefits. And so depending on your situation, and I'll give the disclaimer, Josh, I'm not a CPA or tax professional, but a lot of our investors don't pay taxes on those passive income distributions because of depreciation benefits. And depending on your qualifications, you've talked to your CPA, you maybe have other benefits that you can receive. And then you have like for what we do value add, we're not just relying on the market to take off. We're doing what's called forced appreciation. We're going in and renovating the unit. And, even in Phoenix right now, as we record this, Josh, at the end of July, 2023, I think the trailing 12 organic rent growth in Phoenix is -4%. Well, we've renovated now over 1,000 units this year, just in the last 7 months.
Wow.
And our average rental increase is over $400, okay, per unit.
That's on top of last year's numbers?
Yep. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Incredible.
Just this year, we've been renovating over 1,000 units last 7 months, and we're getting over $400 rental increase per unit we renovated this year. That's with negative organic rent growth. So it's more insulated because we're taking a unit and stripping it down to the studs and putting in quartz countertops, stainless steel appliances, brand new cabinets, and people are willing to pay more for that nicer product.
Yeah.
But we're not buying Class A luxury apartments. We're buying, workforce housing, in safe communities where the majority of the population lives. These types of deals are generally more insulated during downturns because it's where the bulk of the people live. So if you get like 08, 09, people lose their single family homes. They can't afford luxury Class A apartments. Most of them trickle down to this type of B class housing. Yeah. We're still seeing that it's resilient. So yeah, I think that, it's always good to diversify your portfolio, but real estate can be a good way to do that.
And workforce housing truly props up the economy. So those jobs are very resilient. Those are usually the last ones to go because you still need to operate as a country in a lot of aspects. And your all's renovation scope is it mirrors ours. The granite or quartz countertops, and you got your grays, your blacks, your whites as far as color schemes, and then stainless steel, and that separates you from the rest. The other guys that are in the same class are still doing the laminate countertops, the white refrigerators and ovens. They're lowering the unit standards down because they feel like that's what they require, and that's not the case. You can still achieve more, and these people can still have a great place to live and enjoy where they live at by having nicer quality units. Love it.
I agree 100%. Yeah, it's a big competitive advantage to do a finish like you and I are doing compared to most of the competition.
Yeah. So say you buy an asset, let's just say today, and you've got a value add strategy. So you're going to go in, the rent roll and the T12 is always different after you purchase it. You see things change. You've got to restabilize the property, see who your bad actors are, see who your tenants are, what all is shaking out with the property. So, and then plus you've got to go ahead and start executing on the business plan, the value add, the renovations. At what point, I guess, and it totally depends on the size of the complex, and you're paying out monthly distributions. Are you letting it restabilize for 90 days, 2 quarters, for 6 months and letting the pref accrue, or is this something that in advance going in, or what's your all's process with that?
Yeah, good question, Josh. Yeah, so we'll typically begin monthly distributions within 90 days after closing. So we just want to make sure we had a smooth takeover. 90 days later, we start those monthly distributions. And yeah, investors will have, and I won't go into like projected return just because of SEC compliance, but they'll have X% preferred return. And typically these deals don't start out cash flowing at that level year one, right? It starts out lower because we're executing a value add plan, turning over units, and their preferred return is accruing, right? And so 100% of cash flow, 100% of equity goes to the passive investor. We as a sponsor receive zero cash flow, zero equity until we've executed the plan and achieved a capital event like a sale or a refinance. So upon a sale, I'm going to give the investor 100% of their initial investment back. I'm going to fully catch them up on their preferred return per year. And only after those 2 events have first occurred, then we start going through those, GP LP splits where, the sponsor makes the quote unquote sweat equity. And so, yeah, so that's kind of how we do it. And it'll chart to trend. The cash flow will trend up each year 1 to year 2, year 3, as we're renovating units, increasing the revenue and increasing cash flow to investors. But yeah, I think like you said, to answer an earlier question, Josh, I think a lot of investors like this type of investment because they understand it and it's not rocket science, right? Yeah. These people, these tenants and residents, they have jobs, they go to work, they need a place to live. So they pay their rent. That rent covers the mortgage payment for the property, the operating expenses, and that excess cash flow goes through to the investors because the investors are owners of the property. And so it's nice to get, that distribution every month, and know that these properties generally stay highly occupied, because it's just where the bulk of the people live. So it is insulated compared to a lot of other investment classes.
Yeah. Instead of many heart attacks watching the daily stock market ups and downs, you have something that's consistent and it's projectable, meaning that people need a place to stay and live.
Yep.
That's perfect. What would be one of your biggest learning lessons with your journey so far?
Yeah, good question. I mean, just in general, I think if I'm reflecting on like internally or personally, I think the biggest advice I give to people is like, don't take crap from anybody. Like if somebody tells you can't do it, don't listen to them. Because if you have a goal, then you should stick to it, because you're going to have a lot of people that try to tell you can't do it. And it might be because they actually believe it, or they might be threatened by your goal being too big and you made them feel bad about themselves for not trying as hard as they should. And then as you start to achieve some things and you get a little bit of success, you'll have even more critics, who want to reach out to you or say, critical things. And so I think that, whether it's real estate or whatever endeavor you're pursuing, you have to think for yourself and realize that you're the only one that's going to put the work in to get the results that you need to achieve your goal. So why would you listen to anybody else who's going to tell you can't do it? Because they're not the ones going to have to put the work in, right? So you're the only one that can control that. So I think that's the biggest thing that you learn, as you grow a business, is that you have to just kind of block out all the noise, focus on what you can do, and just grind and stay focused.
Yeah, I totally agree. Be uncommon, be different, and choose your own path. That's for sure. What tell us a little bit about some books, both on real estate and off real estate.
Yeah, good question. Honestly, I don't read a lot of real estate books. But yeah, I mean, so I'm kind of boring. Like I listen to like a lot of the same books over and over and I rotate them. But yeah, like, I mean, right now I'm listening to Winning, which is, what is it? Tim Grover. He was like the personal trainer for Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. I listened to Relentless a number of times by him. I recently listened to like, how to win friends and influence people by Dale Carnegie, right? It's a classic. Everybody's heard of that. I think it just gives you, like, even as management, we've got all these people we're managing. It gives you reminders of like how to deal with people, and it's very successful. And I just had our regional directors yesterday. I told them, hey, I need you guys to read this book. This is required reading. So they were texting me this morning, hey, we started the book. We love it. We're going to tell our staff to read it, because it just gives you these skill sets. Another book I like is Mastery by Robert Greene, which he talks about the whole concept of like 10,000 hours, and how you have to really grind and stay focused. And he talks about how some of the most successful people in the history of the world, Einstein, Benjamin Franklin, et cetera, they did not have any exceptional qualities. They weren't smarter than people. They just stayed laser focused, and they basically waited it out longer than anybody else and overcame the adversity. And then you get to a point where you see this exponential growth. So those are some of the books I like to focus on, is just kind of like, mindset books. Some people might call them self-help books, but it's really like, help you focus on your internal mindset.
Well, and that's across real estate. Everyone that I've met just wants to continue just professional learning, just continue to level up. And it's incredible what you can learn out of a book. Dale Carnegie, those tactics still work today.
It's crazy, right? They're timeless. It's crazy when you look how old that book is. Like, what is it, almost 100 years old or something, and it's still timeless.
Yeah, it's just whatever. And having those tools in your belt to be able to use and execute when you need to is you've ultimately got an unfair advantage, but you've educated yourself and put yourself out there to get there. So and I use Audible just because if I can listen to it.
I don't read actual books. I do like when I'm working out, I listen to books. Same here. Yeah.
100%. What would be a favorite hobby or a project that you like to work on?
Yeah, I mean, I just like to go to the gym. That's pretty much it. I'm pretty boring. I just work out. I work. I drink coffee, water, and protein shakes. That's about it. Nothing too exciting there. So I just go to the gym and work. That's about it.
That's all it takes. Cool. Very cool. Awesome. So is there anything else that we can let the listeners know? There's a beginner right now that's tuning in that wants to get into real estate, is not sure, is connecting the dots. They're trying to figure out what the language of real estate is, IRR, internal rate of return, the DS, all these acronyms. how would you recommend that they continue down their journey learning about real estate?
Yeah, great question. Because this was me, in early 2018, and I wasn't looking at multifamily initially. I didn't even know what syndication was when I quit the job. Never heard of it. I was looking at flipping homes, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And so, and then I learned about investing and cash flow. I was at mobile home parks, self-storage. Before I finally settled on multifamily syndication. So I think if you're a beginner, you need to absorb a lot of different knowledge and try to understand what interests you the most. What do you like about it? And let's say, for example, you choose multifamily. Well, you need to understand, what do you want your role to be in multifamily? Like, do you want to be active like me? Do you want to be passive? And you need to understand the time commitments, the sacrifice that you'll have to make to achieve your goals. And there's no right or wrong thing. I think you have to just evaluate, what are your goals and what interests you. And then when you do choose your role, you need to identify, what am I good at? And what are my weaknesses? And then you want to find people who have complementary strengths, to offset your weaknesses, which is what I had to do. I probably quote unquote dated 7 or 8 different business partners before finding my current partners. Where we have complementary skill sets, we get along, similar work ethics. And so, yeah, I think that listening to podcasts like yours, Josh, reading books, going to meetups, just consume as much knowledge. You'd be surprised how much education is out there to learn. Like I didn't even realize it myself, that it seems mainstream probably to you and I, because we're in this world and there's all this content, but most people, you don't know what you don't know. So I think if you just start diving into it and searching for this, you need to learn, absorb, and then you need to start to laser focus on one thing. Because I had like the shiny object syndrome, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to flip houses. I'm going to do mobile home, do self-storage. And then as I look into each one of them, I get discouraged because it's so competitive. I'm like, oh, mobile home parks, I heard, were a cash cow, but now the cap rates are like 4 and 5%. The cash flow, I thought, it's too competitive. It's too saturated. I'm going to go to self-storage. Oh, self-storage is competitive. And you have to realize everything's competitive, right? That's why it's successful, because people are doing it. But you have to just figure out, what do you want to do, laser focus, and don't get distracted with all these different things. Otherwise, it's hard to actually make progress. And then just stick to that one thing and just kind of, keep going with it.
Yeah, the shiny object syndrome is so tough. It's like, especially in an entrepreneur, you see value in almost everything. It's like, oh, there's a squirrel, and then you get distracted, and then it's more time lost. Yep. It's being very disciplined, very driven, and go a mile deep instead of a mile wide, and pick your lane, pick your asset class, and become a niche specific expert. That's huge. That's great. What about any masterminds? Have you are you going to events, showing up in any rooms?
Yeah, good question. So I joined one mentorship program back in 2018. I didn't get a ton of value from it, but I did meet my 2 partners there, so that was good. I didn't stay in it very long. I'm not a part of any masterminds or anything right now. We have been going to a lot of events the last, 6 to 9 months, which can be helpful, help meet investors, other sponsors. And so, I think if you're trying to get into this, like initially for me, I didn't want to spend the money, because I was like, man, these tickets are expensive. I got to travel. I got to get a plane, a hotel. But if you're serious about learning, you need to go to these events, because it'll open your eyes. I mean, I remember I probably spent like 4 or 5 months, Josh, literally trying to seek out people that do this stuff. And I was like going to little meetups I found at meetup.com, and there was no quality, local events in Phoenix. Then I started going online and buying tickets to actual real estate conferences and traveling to Dallas and other places. And the very first one I went to, I was just shocked, because it's like, it feels like you're speaking a foreign language to people when you're trying to like educate them on this. And when you go to these conferences, all these people are trying to do what you're trying to do. Yeah. And I think it'll be very encouraging for you when you're trying to get into this, to meet like-minded people that are trying to do exactly what you're trying to do. They're just like you. They have a W-2 job. So I think get out there, go to conferences. There's a ton of mentorship programs now. So make sure you do your due diligence, talk to people who are in it to see if the cost is worth the value. But in general, I do think that masterminds, mentorship programs are good, because even if you don't get a lot of value from the actual content, you got to think of it as you're buying a network, right? Yeah. You're paying to meet other people doing what you're trying to do, and that's how you collapse the time frame and get to your goal faster. So I think that those are very effective.
Very cool. Absolutely. So Zach, what's on the horizon for you all? You've got $1.99 billion worth of real estate. What's next?
Yeah, great question, Josh. So in the short term, we're laser focused on Dallas. So we still love Phoenix, but we've purchased 4 deals in Dallas this year. We've got a couple more coming, and we just want to build, scale in Dallas, get to like 2,000 to 3,000 units to support our management company. and we're just kind of focused on those two. And then, we like our syndication model. We'll always continue to do that. But, we also have, our eyes set on like creating these larger institutional funds where we're ideally raising money from like endowments, state pension funds, things like that. Because operationally, we have a lot of infrastructure and bandwidth. You're just always limited by equity, in real estate. And so we'd like to get some larger, institutional partners so we can scale there and go about it that way. So yeah, we honestly don't feel like we've achieved much. I mean, it feels like it's been 10 years because so much has changed, but we feel like we have much bigger goals ahead of us, and we're just trying to, keep making progress there.
Cool. Awesome. So Zach, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, whether it's they're looking for advice or wanting to invest with you or get just learn more about you, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, thanks, Josh. Yeah, you guys can go to our website, rise48equity.com, RISE48equity.com, and you can actually set up a call with me on my calendar on that website. You can shoot me an email, Zach, ZACH, at rise48equity.com.
Awesome. We'll have that in the show notes as well. Definitely appreciate your time. Look forward to following you, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Thanks.